Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast and the instant reaction. Arsenal 0, Spurs 1 out in Hong Kong in the Hong Kong Football Festival. George unfortunately can't make it today, so I'm here with my boy, becoming a regular on the Cannon Podcast, Mr. James.
I didn't hear you there. What you said, but
I was asking how you are, but I'm assuming not particularly good after.
No, and I'm impressed. I'm impressed at the energy you brought to that intro. It was just such a frustrating game. I wanted something to grab onto and like one major positive. And there's a few things, but we're really squeezing lemons here. There's not a lot that we can go off and say this was a really big positive.
Yeah, it was a tough watch. I think I always say this in preseason, so forgive me, guys. It's difficult to know what to take from preseason, so we'll try and work out what we can and what we can't. But yeah, we'll talk through the game and do our headlines, do the numbers, do the first half, second half and stuff. So thanks for joining us on the instant reaction. All of you in the chat, we'll come to your comments and stuff at the end to get them all in, and we'll come to them when we can. Start with the headlines. I said to you just before we went live, it's the sort of instant reaction where I'm like sort of trying not to say anything I regret and go too early because it is. But my headline is: it feels like there's a lot of hangover from last season. At the moment, I think there is some positives. I think when Zubimendi came on, there was some better signs. I think obviously I know we joke about this sort of stuff, but the pitch didn't help and the ref didn't help, and I accept that affects both teams, but I think it definitely affected us. I think there's some positives. I think we're still obviously we've seen Gyökeres for 15 minutes. We just about got Mosquera. We haven't got Madueke in. Norgard is not meant to be I don't think a sort of first team signing upgrade or whatever. But obviously, so yeah, we're still working with basically a largely the same team from last year. So there is a caveat there that will change. But I just feel a lot of the stuff that I'm frustrated at, the lack of central penetration and lack of players who can take it in the pocket and receive, the horseshoe stuff, the lack of quality off the second balls, even when we do go forward to Havertz, I feel like we don't take advantage of that massively. The fact that I feel like in transition, we're still not making the most of our situations. The fact that our wide players are struggling, specifically Martinelli, to beat our players. It's a lot of the stuff that we were talking about last year and we're talking about again. Now, as I say, caveats, we haven't seen loads of players start. Things are changing, pitch, blah, 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 blah. But that is kind of my headline. And I think that is the frustrating part. I think why maybe today has left a bit of a sour taste in some mouths, because it does feel as though we're talking about the same things again.
Yeah, that's exactly, just to jump on the back of your point. We finished last season thinking there were huge problems, but we've got a transfer window to solve these issues. And we look at today and you think, okay, of the signings, have we solved the issue in the final third where the left-hand side, we can't break them down? And we went into the window thinking we could sign a Leao, Rodrigo. We signed Madueke, who he solves some problems, but he's not a plug and play. He's not someone who you put in and think we're not going to have to worry about that anymore. And we're linked with Eze, but you consider Eze and think, is he going to be that natural archetypical left winger who's going to solve those problems? I'm not so sure. And the guy who played, we'll speak about this more, but the guy who played 5 minutes today, 10 minutes, did more than Martinelli all game. And that concerns me because he's off to Fulham. So we do have significant problems in our attack as a whole, that we still seem to be relying on Saka. And when he's not firing, which he hasn't really been in pre-season, everyone's just looking at each other thinking, where's the chance creation going to come from? And it's all well and good Gyökeres being this one chance bang finish striker. If we're not creating clear-cut chances for him, then he's not going to score goals.
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just quickly before you do your headline, I think I echo what you say, and I think it's tough, as I say. You kind of want to There's a part of me that wants to launch into, we haven't fixed the problems. And there's a part of me going, hang on, wait, it's 3 games into preseason and we haven't had the first team signings and we're still, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really struggling to pitch this. I'm like, I don't know where we are. And I think that makes me feel uncomfortable, really. I just don't know where we are. But yeah, give us your headline.
And yeah, as we say, there are so many caveats preseason. We don't know how intensely they've been training. Spurs, I believe someone said that, I think it was Adrian Clark, said that this is their first preseason game. And
yeah, and we're likely to be doing double sessions, and you know, there's so many things going on, and you have to take certain players off because of fitness, and yeah, so it's tough to know, isn't it?
Yeah, but regardless, my headline was about the new signings and how I feel they did in their admittedly limited cameos. I'll start with Mosquera because it's a little bit easier to break down his performance. I was very happy with what I saw. He looks composed. He looks very, very athletic. He looks like he can cover ground easily. And it is funny because he played next to Saliba, and you do see that kind of Saliba contingency. You can see that he could come right into the team, and we wouldn't miss a beat. And something about him that does make me laugh. He is so top heavy. His shoulders are really like this.
It's crazy. But it's similar with Kivior, because Kivior's got the really broad shoulders. I wonder if it's something we profile in our centre backs. He also, with Mosquera, he played the Partey ball to Dauman. He played this sort of, it was like this telegraph pass to the back foot of the right winger, and it was a really nice ball. It's one ball. Let's chill out. But I was really pleased with it because it's something that Saliba doesn't particularly do.
But even still, that ball was it's not just the execution of the ball, it's the idea of and forcing the issue to say, right, I'm going to make this ball happen. And it doesn't matter with that specific ball. It doesn't matter if you telegraph it because you're bending it away from the defender or the attacker who's blocking it, that it's fine. And moving on to Gyökeres again. So we're really feeding off scraps here. So I don't want to say too much or too little. He looks heavy. Now, this is for good and for bad because he'll be strong in the duels. He doesn't look quick on his feet, and I must admit I haven't watched as many 90s of him. I'm more used to just watching the compilations, so it's harder to judge. I don't know for certain how light on his feet he is, but he made a few good touches. There was a moment on the edge of the box where he took a fairly good first touch and laid it off to Zubamendi, who created a chance. And considering how Havertz played today, we will get onto him more. But I feel the bar was quite low of what we're expecting of him right now, which is a little bit of a concern because right now there was a thought that maybe Gyökeres doesn't need to start the season because we've already got Havertz. I really wasn't thoroughly impressed with what we saw from Havertz today. I don't think he's offering enough at the moment to justify the duels because he was winning the first duel and then the second action just wasn't there. And again, as I say, there's only so much that you can say, oh, he's enabling other players, but we're all enabling other players. Who is going to put the ball in the back of the net? And this is what I alluded to earlier. This is what concerns me a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, I think with Gyökeres, we're working off 15 minutes, so it's very difficult. I think the positives that I saw, it's a shame he wasn't fit to start the game because I felt the opening half an hour or so was really more suitable for Gyökeres than a Kai Havertz. So that was interesting. There was a couple of moments where he was we've spoken many times about, I think, the technical issues that I have, but one of the benefits of that is he's unpredictable. He's chaotic. You don't quite know how many steps he's going to take. You don't know. He's not, and nothing's not nothing. A lot of his actions aren't clean. So you sort of feel a little bit of, oh God. And he did create a moment of chaos actually in the box where he sort of wriggles around and not quite sure where he is and he gets a pass off. And that's sort of the impact that I'm really pleased and excited to see with Gyökeres. He needs more space to run into. And I don't think the game suited him by that point. I do agree on the body composition point, and I'll make this not about Gyökeres. Look at the rest of our team and look at Gyökeres' current physicality and tell me that he's not going to move. If you look at, like, say, Marino, Mosquera, Saliba, Calafiori, how these guys are built, it's lean muscle, it's the body fat percentage is lower. When you look at him in the there's like the signing video, he's so stacked. And he's actually to the point where I think he's a little bit, he's like almost overly stacked. And I wonder how that will shift over the years. I'd be really curious to see a picture of him like this time next year, like how we adapt him. Or do we lean into that? I don't know. Like maybe they say, actually, we're not going to try and transition you to be more like our other players. We're actually going to transition you to be like this and be a bit more like that. But certainly, I think it's interesting to see that development. Let's move to more of the analysis of the actual game itself. First half, the first half was tough. I felt it was very scrappy. That my main takeaway from the first half, James, Spurs are good. So annoying. They look really good. They got Richarlison in the one. They're forcing you wide. They get Odegaard, wherever it was, to jump you, forcing us long. They're winning the ball back centrally. They're tucking inside when we did get out a little bit. They had the sort of the two in the pivot. It was stopping the ball inside. We tried to play that pass inside to Miles, and they jumped on us. And obviously, they got the Sarr goal. They looked really good in build up. They were getting out against us. We weren't able to force them along as much as we could. I think Vicario's kicking was letting them down because actually they were creating some spaces up the pitch, and he would try and find it. And that's nothing to do with Thomas Frank. That was his execution, and they were out a number of times. They looked really good. And it really frustrated me.
You just watch it and you just, what do you mean you're not playing kamikaze ball with all of your players on the halfway line?
Stand on the halfway line again.
But yeah, and as I say, it was a good test for us. And also because Spurs had a very organised press, it did bring about another issue, which is when Norgard is in the pivot and Rice was next to him with Odegaard, we really could not break them down centrally. We were really struggling to progress the ball through central spaces. And we did end up going long to varied success. There were a few occasions that, yes, it did work. I just don't like the sustainability of that route forward. We need to find other options. And Miles carries the ball through central space as well, but we kind of saw that we took too big of a risk. I personally think it was a foul for that goal. We'll speak about this more. I didn't see the slow motion replay that they keep talking about. But just regardless, it just showed that they knew that if we had Zubimendi in that position, I think it's a different story. But then again, now we're looking at a central point of failure in Zubimendi, that if he's not on the pitch, how are we going to progress centrally? Yeah. And if not, are we going to keep doing the U shape that you've talked about so often? Again, pre-season, lots of caveats, and the pitch wasn't great to do my best Thai impression, but
it's been raining.
I wish it was raining. It was too dry. Every time you saw a close-up of the pitch, there's everything on it. But yeah, that's not the reason why. But I am concerned about why we're not penetrating them centrally. Yeah. And it feels like a lot of what we've done, sorry to ramble, but it feels like a lot of what we've done is this idea of we're going to approach teams on the edge of their box and we're going to break down low blocks and these really high presses. And now I'm thinking again, mid blocks are the bane of our existence. We need to be able to break down mid block centrally. What is the solution? Have we found it? Not sure.
Yeah, I think Zubimendi massively helps us, but obviously, again, that's a bit of a single point of failure, and I think there's more systemic stuff that we can look at. Yeah, the first half was a scrappy affair. I felt it was sort of back and forth. I think, as I said in the intro, we weren't profiting off the second balls. I felt the left hand side was a lot of go to the right hand side. Saka gets locked down. I don't think Saka's in his best form right now. This is in no way. He'll get there. It's Saka, right? But I don't think he's in his best form. So when you don't have that quality, the left hand side looks even worse. And I did feel, to be fair, when we went wide, I thought Miles and Ben probably didn't have their best games in terms of execution. Because we were getting a little bit of space, because they were clocking the centre. We were getting a little bit of space with them, and they couldn't quite find some penetrative actions or balls or whatever it might be, carries. So yeah, it was a bit concerning. Second half. Move on to that. When did the goal go in? Before the first, it was the first half, wasn't it? I think so. Second half, we looked a little bit better. I thought we were squeezing the pitch better, and there was a little bit more consistency in our actions. I think we're winning our duels better. But again, you squeeze the pitch, and you've got Declan Rice on the last line, and Kai Havertz on the last line, and Norgard or Marino, whoever it was on the last line. And I'm looking at a lot of players who can't receive it, or aren't their best quality isn't receiving it centrally and turning and making something happen. I actually thought, and I will give a word for him, I thought Martin Odegaard looked better than he has for a while today. Yep. There were some really good moments, especially towards the end of the first half. I know we did the second half, especially towards the end of the first half, where the tempo of his game is much better. His actions are released much quicker. He's taking it. He's preparing his body better. What he do last season, which frustrated me so much, and he shouldn't. I think because he's thinking so much. He feels like he's thinking a lot when he plays. He'd receive the ball, then think. It felt like he'd receive it, then go, I'm assessing my options. At the moment, it feels like he's receiving it and then just playing that next pass, which is a big difference for him. I thought he was setting that tempo really, really nicely, moving it around well.
I still don't think his execution is quite there though. Like for whatever reason, there are a lot of times where you're right. His brain seemed to be in the right place where he would take the ball on the half turn, but some miscontrols. Sometimes he was trying to ride a challenge and was getting tackled. And again, when he is so important in our attack, especially with Saka off form a little bit at the moment, you think like there's such a reliance on this. And more and more by the day, Palace are going, well, we're not going to budge our price because you need Eze. Because currently you look at it and people have often spoken about if the window closed tomorrow, how would you feel about it? I think today raised a lot of questions that you think, actually, we're not finished yet. We can't be finished. Otherwise, we're going to run into trouble next season.
We are finished. We lost 1-0. That's it. It's over. Let's look at the numbers. 0.8 expected goals to 0.4. We won on XG, James. We've heard that story before. 15 shots to 6. 1 shot on target to 1 shot on target. They got 0.0 post-shot XG. We won on possession, 1 on passes, 1 on field tilt, 1 on final third entries, 1 on expected threat created, deep touches, zone 14 touches. It's the same story, basically, as last season, which I think is what we were kind of saying at the beginning. Even in our press, at the bottom, you can see the passes per defensive action. You can see we were more intense there, but couldn't make something work. And that is kind of the story of Arsenal 24.
One stat you glossed over. So go back a second. Dribbles successful.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
That is horrible. That is so bad.
Yeah, that is really poor. For those of you listening on audio, it's 17 dribbles attempted, 3 successful. Yeah, that is poor. There's the running XG through the game. Again, you go back to it, the same kind of story. You feel as though we're slightly the better team, probably on balance, maybe should win that. But there you go. And there's the shot maps, as you can see, sort of heavily dictated, biased to the right-hand side. Spurs getting basically nothing apart from that. I wonder what that is.
Can we quickly touch upon the Eddie's comment here? Has Richarlison's shot been missed off here? The one off the corner. I don't think that counts as a shot. I don't think that counts. It just hit him.
I actually couldn't tell what. So did it hit the post, then his back, or something?
I think it hit the post and then like hit his arm. It was absolutely atrocious. Speaking of, I can't remember where this was in the running order, but corners. Can we discuss corners? Yeah. Really big concern. We were very, very poor at defending corners last season. Numerous reasons. Gabriel was injured, Havertz was injured, etc. But it was a clear point of failure for us that we needed to improve on. And if today was anything to go by, Brentford found a very, very clear gap in our armour where they just kept doing the same thing and it kept working. Was Van der Ven fouling Raya? Probably. But again, I don't think it was blatant fouls. I don't think it was as clear cut as you'd say in the Premier League. That's a howler if they didn't give it. So for whatever reason, we weren't sticking a man on Van der Ven to help Raya. Was Raya just struggling in himself? I don't know. But every single time that ball got whipped in through everyone, and I think they hit the post once and one came very, very close, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it was bizarre, and we also changed our attacking corners as well. I think something's going through a shift. I need to speak to the nerds on this stuff because I feel like set pieces is just like a world to me that I think you can sort of go, oh, something's changed, but I can't really tell what. Something feels like it has shifted, and it is a concern because I think when we get Gabriel and Havertz back, I'll be a lot more. I'll be scrutinizing a lot more. Because there are defenders on the first post. But yeah, I think it's certainly something to keep an eye on as we get into the season.
What I will say is on attacking corners, things did change. We got first contact a lot of the time. The first contact was just really scruffy. Like there was a time Mosquera had a free header, stooped down, hit the back of his head. There were a few other times where we got the contact, but it just wasn't clean, which is a positive sign. So less concerned about attacking corners, very concerned about defensive corners because I've got no idea what was going on today.
I hear you. Before we come to your super chats and your comments, thank you so much for joining us here. Nearly 2,000 of you watching live. Make sure you like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Thank you, and subscribe to the Cannon Podcast. Just let's pick maybe an individual each before we go to the comments. I can't ignore him again, Max Dowman. And you know what? The thing I noticed today is like you sort of look for it a little bit when a player comes in and sort of the trust they're having. He's got already like Saka 2020 trust from the team. It's basically like give the ball to Max Dowman. He's not 16 till December. I know people know his age, but it is just worth repeating that. Like the talent this guy has, and I'm sorry to be reductive, but I can't help but feel there are certain games where I'm just going to say it. There's certain games where if you had Dalman and Saka on that right hand side instead of Odegaard and Saka, and this is and or Ben White, you have Duran Timber, whatever, just different combinations. If you put Dalman and Saka, that level of talent together in whatever combination, you could put Dalman inside or Saka outside, whatever. Surely something happens there. Magic happens because you put two players together who are so good in tight spaces, so associative, so smart. Two of the best talents in England. Like
he was getting triple teamed. He was getting double
like
15 years old. Like what is that? What is that?
Yeah.
And yeah, I also just think that any non-Arsenal fan should be so excited from an England perspective.
Yeah.
He's 15 and he's already forcing his way into the Arsenal team. Worth noting, actually, interesting, but Nwaneri obviously didn't come. Don't think he came on at all today.
No, I don't think so.
I was mistaken. But Dowman is so quickly. These aren't pity minutes. These are, can you improve the team minutes, because we're bringing you on and you are making a significant difference to the team. So yeah, crazy talent, and we'll see how this season pans out. But I have a feeling it's going to be one of those things where he just comes into the team and performs so well, you cannot ignore that. And he does feel like he's going to be one of our attackers to come off the bench very often. My player, a guy who's just, the level now is very high. He just every week, not even like a 7 out of 10, like an 8.59 out of 10. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Reece?
No. William Saliba. No, William Saliba. Okay. I thought maybe because, I suppose you picked him up on his passing earlier. I just think he always, you don't even think about what he does, but I watched him quite closely today, and you are never worried with him in the team. Kivior, of course, was in, but Kivior made 1 or 2 mistakes where he overran the ball. Saliba doesn't do this. Saliba, if he's in a one-on-one with an attacker, you don't worry about it. If he's on the ball, you don't worry that he's going to lose the ball. You just know exactly what he's going to bring. And I do think Gabriel brings stuff off the ball, like the mentality to keep the line high. I think in pre-season we've struggled with that a tiny bit, but I think more and more to Saliba's game, he's just becoming flawless. And the one thing I'd like him to, more headers, William, more headers.
He does suffer slightly from that thing where you're so good that you kind of get underrated. And Saka does this. Like there's no story. You're just so consistently good that no one ever thinks about you. I think sometimes that happens. Like Gabriel, because he's improved over time, it's you get spoken about a lot. And he is just extraordinary. Let's get to your super chats. Thank you all so much for joining us on the Cannon Pod. We're here after every single game. Ray's Dos says, I'm sorry, but why do I still see the same attack from 2023 when it's almost 2026? How many chances will Martinelli and Havertz get Odegaard to? Yeah, I think that's really the kind of the theme of this game. It's the same issues. And I think when I think sometimes you can think you're right on something, and this is kind of like when we go back to that Gyökeres podcast we did. I made this point in the podcast after. I actually don't take back any of the analysis, but everyone was right that we were 2 down. If 400 people in comments say you were 2 down on this, I think that someone might have a point, and they were right. And I think when everyone in the fan base is saying we have the same problem on the left-hand side, that is it. Like you can't think your way out of this and go, actually, no, it's this, because just, bro, accept it. If thousands of people are saying something, there must be a problem here. There is. And I think it is a concern for me. I think specifically I'll pick up on Martinelli, and then I think there's a super chat in a second as well from Gabby, who talks about Dalman and Martinelli as well. For me at the moment with Martinelli, it's the misprofiling. Yeah, to some degree. But he also, even in the things that I think he backs himself, even in things I think we as a fan base would back him to do, he doesn't back himself. I don't feel that sense of him that he thinks I can beat my man. There was this replay of him up against Pedro Porro We actually gets himself in a really good position. He gets Porro to commit. He brushes the ball past him, and you can sort of feel him waiting for the contact. So he jumps over it, and he looks over his shoulder, and there's this look as if just like, yeah, of course. And I hate that. It's like he's lost that thing of like, God's sake, like, why can't I beat my man or whatever? It's like he's accepted defeat, and it really upsets me.
And I often speak about this footballing arrogance, and Arsenal haven't had that for a long time. And I suppose in Arteta's group, this is something kind of we value, is this humility. But also at the same time, you do need the Cole Palmers of this world, the Vinicius Juniors of this world, who don't consider that they might not get past the player.
Yeah.
Every time they will, and Gyökeres has a lot of these traits actually, which is interesting because Berta was the one pushing him instead of Arteta. But these guys that, as you say, Havertz and Martinelli both suffer from this patchy form, because when things aren't going their way, their confidence gets down. Unfortunately, when you're playing elite level football, when you're trying to compete at the Champions League, Premier League, you can't afford those patches. No. Man City signed Haaland because he's a player that doesn't have those patches. For all of Gabriel Jesus' strengths, he will at times go 5 games without scoring because he's just not got his shooting boots on. And if you've got Havertz and Martinelli in the same team, that there's just too many. And as we've said before, even if you do platform Martinelli, what does that look like? Do you get him in inside spaces? Because in the Premier League, there aren't that large inside spaces for a left winger. Maybe if you're a little bit deeper, but that makes more sense for Eze than Martinelli. Martinelli isn't going to be the type of guy who's sliding balls through and creating chances from central spaces. So I don't know what the solution is, but I don't really think we should be going into next season with the current options unless Madueke is going to blow us away.
No, and look, I don't think signing Madueke and Eze or Rodrigo or Gordon, all these links, I think we're going to do something, and that tells me, look, Saka's not coming out of the team. So the fact that, so I think he can play on the right-hand side, but I do think this strong-footed left footer on the left is going to be a big aspect to this team. And I think being able to beat your man round the outside is just a dynamic we don't have in this team at the minute on that side. Saka can go both ways because he's crazy, but I just don't feel it with Martinelli at the minute. And I just look at Martinelli and Rice, and it feels an awkward fit. You don't have the overlap and stuff. I think back to your point about the mental aspect of this, Lewis Skelly's a perfect example. Bro gets sent off against West Ham. Next game, he's back doing the exact same stuff. Like he's not thinking about
against Real Madrid in the Champions League.
Exactly. So he's literally not thinking about it. The Wolves thing happens. He's not even thinking about it. Like it's just on to the next thing. And you feel, you don't feel that demand from Martinelli. It's like he just needs someone to like shake him. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, do you ever have those friends sometimes where they're like, you meet up with them and they're like, what are you doing? They're like, yeah, I don't know, just stuff. Like, just going to work. I'm like, bro, you got one life. Like, come on, like, do something with your life. And it's like I want to like get his shoulders and be like, bro, come on, wake up. You're at Arsenal. Like, show me something.
But I wonder, behind the scenes, is he that like reserved? Is he not someone who's driven and doesn't feel that within himself, or does it just show in his body language? But either way, neither of them are a positive, because if your body language shows that you don't believe in yourself, then defenders smell that, and every time they'll just nick the ball off you, rather than those players. Another example is Dauman. Dauman picks the ball, his first touch is towards a defender, and that already strikes fear in them. That already makes them second guess, hang on a minute, which way is he going, inside or outside? Whereas we just don't have that on the left-hand side with anyone. Trossard has the arrogance, but I don't think he can support it with the I guess take on ability. Trossard does a lot of things well, but I just don't think he's the solution to our left wing problem.
Yeah, and the fact that in summer 2025, I actually don't think it's a horrible take to say, doesn't Reece Nelson start over Martinelli? It's like it's not a bad argument. It's not a bad argument. Nathan Piper, what has happened to Saka, Odegaard, White game dynamics? I think it's redeveloping. I think we've seen some benefits. I think for whatever reason today it didn't seem to work out. I thought against Milan and Newcastle there was some good signs. We just need to wait. I think on this one, like, I'm more willing to just wait to see it develop, because I'm feeling individually there's some green shoots with White, there's some green shoots with Odegaard. Saka is going to get back to his best. One combination and we're all going, oh, it's back. you know what I mean? I think we need to hold off a little bit.
Also, just on this, something I thought about is we seem to be trying to platform Saka more centrally. So there was one occasion where White kind of flicked it forward and Saka made an inside run, and it just wasn't there. They're all intelligent enough footballers that, okay, Saka now makes a new run, because at the start it was that out to in basketball run. There's going to be some new runs that they're trying because defenders now know what their typical runs are. So they'll very quickly pick it back up. And also, this is what preseason is for.
Yeah.
Like we lost to a goal from the halfway line from probably what would have been given as a foul in the Premier League. So we're all disappointed, but
yeah, we've got to be careful what can be taken and what can't be. Idris Yeep says, "Why am I still seeing Odegaard as the deepest player when Zubi was on? Also, can someone explain why White, Odegaard, and Saliba played the full 90?" Probably to answer the last question, strength and conditioning stuff. That in preseason they're all on individual programs depending on where they are and like stuff. You know, why is so and so going off? He's the best player. That's not the point in preseason. It's much more about fitness. I think. With Odegaard, I didn't personally see that when Zubimendi was on. I think he was dropping out the block when we were like up really close to the penalty box. Maybe is that one?
I think there was one occasion where we lost the ball from a corner. They went forward. Odegaard and Dalman both sprinted back. We regained possession, and Odegaard was deeper than Zubimendi. But that's very situational to me, rather than being like a deliberate thing.
I hear that. Ichigo K1000 says Rice struggles as an 8-10 against low blocks. That's not his strength. I see Eze being brought to play left 8-10 in games exactly like this. Yeah, I think so. And I think you guys spoke about it yesterday on the stream, right? About like where Rice thrives and as a left 8, and it's in big space games. It is in big space games, and I think in these types of situations, especially like second half, like maybe I think Rice was probably. There's a reason Rice looked a little bit better first half. If you can sign maybe a Madueke who can stretch things that way and pair him with a Rice, it's less of a problem. But when you have two right footers collapsing in and you're asking Rice, I feel like a lot of time Rice is almost like it's like the ball's going to get stuck under his feet and he's kind of like looking around like, hang on, where am I? Because he's not comfortable. And I think Eze would be able to take it, turn either way, which way, create a bit of separation. I really think that's why we're signing Eze. I mean, it sounds like Arteta is really intent on him, and if the club are willing to put down 60-70 million pounds, that tells you what they think of Rice in these situations. So I think they do know. It's just hopefully we can get it done.
Yeah, but as we say, even the idea of Marino in that position, we're not looking at thinking against low blocks. We don't want that to be the solution. So I was speculating with Rohan yesterday that in these type of games, you could even stick Rice at centre back with Saliba, and you've just got ultimate carrying power from really deep.
I actually don't hate that shout in certain game states. Yeah,
but I fully agree with the sentiment that against low blocks, there is just not enough space. And you're right, he is receiving the ball in high spaces and just recycling. And I think the defenders know that as well, that apart from maybe a clipped cross, that he's not going to pick the lot.
Yeah, I think so. Dalite says, making excuses in preseason in phase 10. Maybe the problem is the manager and his Havertz fetish. Can't coach an attack, awful tactics, and horrific football.
By the way, this Havertz fetish, Gyökeres was not fit to start. It wasn't an option.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this is someone maybe who's frustrated at the game, which you're allowed to be. But I think, I can't keep saying it. Ultimately, it's very difficult to go. It's exactly what you said. Why didn't Gyökeres start this game? Because he's not fit. Well, why didn't so and so come off? Well, because they had to play the full 90 for fitness. Well, what you don't know. And we just have to get to the first game of the season and then start to judge from there. The frustrating part is it feels like we're heading in the same direction, which is why I would never begrudge anyone being frustrated. It feels like we're doing the same stuff again, but I can't analyze that and say that's definitely the case yet. We just have to wait. Okay, NH23. City don't make chances means Haaland looks useless and they lose games. City create chances, Haaland wins them trophies. Same dynamic will occur at Arsenal if the left wing continues to be useless. I think that's a really good take. I think that the benefit, it's not only that the left-hand side will look better when however we do it, with Madueke with a strong footer, or with Eze inside, or different combinations, or Calafiori who wasn't fit today. Obviously, I don't know how it's going to end up working. But I think that it's not only the left-hand side, it's the impact on the right-hand side and the freedom it will give to players like Ødegaard and Saka and stuff, and the space that will give. It's a massive aspect of it. And they must be frustrated. I mean, Saka and White and Ødegaard must think, someone over there do something.
I mean, even when Dalman came on, it's the same
yeah.
thing, is that everyone's body is like facing this way. It's like, well, I'm not going to pass it to the left, so I'm going to receive the ball and pass it to the right straight away. Just on this point as well, had we signed Isak, it would have been a different story. We could have gotten away with having maybe someone less creative on the left wing, because Isak can create chances for himself. We have signed a striker who essentially feeds off the chances of other people. He's not really going to create chances for himself. He'll run down blind alleys, but someone's got to make those chances for him. So that puts even more weight in the left wing to say, okay, who's going to create chances for Gyökeres? Because similar to here, if no one's creating chances for Haaland, it's the chance creator's fault, and we're going to have that same problem.
Yep. En Lawal, we severely lack creativity. If it isn't the back post cross, the Benny overlap, or Saka brilliance, we look toothless, massively concerned. It's funny we've ended up in a situation where one signing feels so pivotal with this Eze thing. I think it's everyone is kind of pinning their hopes on it a lot. I think we've solved we've solved a lot of stuff with Zubimendi. I think we've solved certain things with Gyökeres. I think we've solved certain things with Madueke. But probably the biggest, if you'd said to me at the start of the summer, what is the biggest issue to solve in this team? I would have told you the left-hand side, whatever it was, however you get there, whatever you think. And we are still in a situation where it doesn't feel like it's fully solved. Or if it is solved, let's say it's Madueke, we don't yet know. We might be sat here in a month saying Madueke was the answer. Oh my goodness me, genius! But we currently don't know. Or it might be Gyökeres. Who knows? I can't. Currently, I don't see it in terms of fixing the left hand side with a striker. But okay, fine. Let's wait and see. We don't know. But it's the Eze thing feels bigger and bigger by the day. By the day, he says, voice cracking. It is a concern. I think the one thing I will say here is it is also a quality and a good thing that we get so many back post crosses off, that we get so many overlaps, that Saka is so brilliant. Like it may feel we rely on that, but that is it is a thing we can build from. So like, let's not get, I appreciate the familiarity breeds the sense of like frustration with it, but the fact we do create those moments is a good thing. We just have to add to it as well.
Also, some of these moments we speak about, the White had plenty of overlaps today. It's often very fine margins. It's often he cut the ball back and someone was a yard away, or it's hit the first man. That's not. So we are creating chances, and it's just make this minor tweak, clip it to the back post instead of smashing against the front post. But we've done the hard thing. The hard thing is everything up until that point. And then if we can fix that final issue, then we'll be in a lot sweeter place. The other thing, just quickly, I want to talk about is Miles practicing his crossing. I think it's telling as well, because we get that ball on the left hand side, and as it stands, there's no one really who's comfortable making that like whipped cross into the danger area. The fact that Miles seems to be working on that is a positive.
Yeah, I think so. To me, it looked like Mikel deliberately went long first half versus second half. We looked much better building from the back. Can Ødegaard not use his right foot at all? It really slows progression. Thanks for super chat, Emily. Yeah, I agree with your first statement. I think with Ødegaard, that is a limitation of his. I do think he creates himself angles by doing certain other things, especially when he's thinking better on the ball, also actually off the ball before he receives it, as I was saying earlier. But it is a limitation. It is, and that's it just depends what you want to go. Every single player has limitations, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But I think I've said this before about Ødegaard. He has a bit of an identity question to answer. Who is he now in this team? Is he our final third tempo setter? Is he the pass before the pass? Is he the assist? Is he the shot from the edge of the box? Is he's got an identity to look at here. I'm not saying that I don't know what happens. Again, we're in pre-season, so who knows? But there is a big identity question for Ødegaard to answer this season, and I hope, because I think he's a really talented football player, he can answer it.
I don't have much to add to that. To be fair, it's also almost becoming 3:15. So
oh yes, sure.
That's all right.
What time's your meeting? 3:30.
3:15. But we can wrap things up.
I've
No,
got
that's
to
all
do
right.
that.
That's all right.
If you need to shoot, I can answer these as well. Josh says, I understand it's Spurs, but it's preseason. We're clearly experimenting, and our players aren't fit. Long time Aussie viewer, up the knockers. Thank you, Josh. That's very kind of you. Fair play.
Do you know what I will do? I will. Sorry to interrupt. I will head because I don't want to. I don't want you to feel rushed in reading these super chats. I think it's a disservice to not be able to read people's super chats properly. So thank you all for having me, as always.
Thank you, James.
And
appreciate you, mate.
Thanks for keeping it Arsenal. See you soon.
See you, mate. Cheers. Thank you, Josh, for your super chat. Very kind. Our players aren't fit. Long time Aussie viewer, up the knockers. Yeah, I do think there's some experimentation going on. I think a lot of it feels similar to last season. I think we're more willing to go long, maybe. I think we've spoken about a little bit more in terms of the narrowness of the team. George has spoken about different attacking patterns and runs off the last shoulder, which I think we could look at as well. But we are squinting a little bit. So yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one to know how much to take from it. Is basically I've said to you guys 100 times now. I think that's basically my feeling. I believe I'm a better dribbler than Martinelli, says Darlight. We'll have to see it, mate. If you can find yourself a pro contract and get on Y Scout, I'll have a look at you, son. Lord Witherfang, Nelly needs to be sold. Mosquera looks impressive. Mosquera, I think, looked physically in really good shape. He looked a little bit, the nerds would call it step count. He looked a little bit jittery at times. It looked like he couldn't quite take it in his stride every so often, but he looked nice. I want to see him under more pressure. Obviously, I just want to see more of him. But he did look. His passing looked better than I thought it would in an Arsenal shirt. In certain points, not just the pass I mentioned earlier, but a number of little moments. He was playing quite narrow to Saliba as well. But yeah, I think you can see the physical capabilities, even just in his short strides. You can see how quickly he can move, which is really, really impressive. Olashola says, "I promise you, Spurs will not win again this season." I think they will, Olashola. The frustrating part is Thomas Frank is going to get the most out of that group of players. Whether they get to the top, whether they can get the best players on the planet to Spurs and keep them there, and that's some of the hardest stuff to do. We have, in my opinion, 3, 4, 5 maybe of, if not the best, then certainly second or third best players in their position in the world in our team. Can Spurs get them to the club, keep them at the club, and keep Frank, etc., at the club for as long as that needs to happen to be able to win the biggest stuff consistently? That's my question because of how they're run. But yeah, they are going to be really good, and it's not going to be 3-point lane, unfortunately. I think we need to stop dressing it up as a whole. The team is not better than last season. You could even argue it's a little worse. I don't know. Sorry to keep saying the same point, but it just I see. I could be sat here in a month saying we saw the exact same stuff in preseason. I was worried that we were going to end up in this situation, and here we are. Or we could be sat here in a month saying, the new signings are settled. Gyökeres has found his feet, and Zubimendi's playing more minutes, and we've found a solution on the left-hand side with Eze, and we've got Madueke in the team, and we're playing with more rhythm, and the players are fit, and here we are. And we've got this evolution at Arsenal. And I don't know, unfortunately. I wish I could. I'm just never going to be confident on something that I haven't seen. So, yeah, frustrating, but there you go. It's Wanted says, Ødegaard being one-footed is limiting our attack. I think in terms of if I had to prioritize what was the biggest limit, it would be quite far down the list. And I want to see him with a functioning left-hand side before I go too hard on this. But I think it is a limit for sure. But in the same way that like Saka, I don't know, I don't think Saka limits us, but like say Kai Havertz, like his ability to run the channels and sort of strike off both feet consistently, the confidence, the sort of the arrogance and mentality that maybe a Gyökeres shows us, that limits us. I think it's about working within that and making sure they're put in situations where they're going to thrive. I don't think Ødegaard's always put in situations where he's going to thrive. And I think in this game, I was looking more at Waneri, even a Dalman who can take it on the half turn, receive, go inside. And we get so frustrated at Ødegaard not doing that we miss all the other stuff he does do. So, yeah, it's hard to say. Hanny, what really annoys me is that it's always the same scenario. A low block, we are slow, cross, and lose. Why can't we be quicker, more ruthless, and a bit of creativity? Unpopular, our midfield is too heavy. Maybe you mean sort of heavy in terms of athletes or physically. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't, in terms of the physicality of our midfield, I think we're in quite a good position. To be honest, I'd still want one more like runner. But yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by heavy, but yeah, I hear you on the frustration, and hopefully we've covered that enough. I don't want to go pick up old ground, as people say. That's not the phrase. Josh Miller, do we still prefer Eze over Rodrigo? For me, I just don't think Rodrigo is going to happen. No, personally, I think Rodrigo gives us more to go to be a proper left winger, and be a kind of pseudo 10 as well. I think he can do both jobs. I prefer the latter. I just don't think Rodrigo is going to happen. I think he probably signs at Madrid. I can't see him going to Liverpool. Like, how can they? I read something about how they're going to get Isak. Like they're somehow able to be. They're still in profit from this summer or something. It's absolutely crazy, the situation they got going on. Hope he doesn't go to Liverpool, because he'd be fantastic for us. I just don't think we're gonna pay probably what they want for him. And I think Eze has a big impact for us as well. And I just don't think I really don't believe we're like 2 superstar signings away. And I think Eze can be a superstar for us. I really believe he can. I think he has that quality. Maybe not quite on the Saka level, but he can give us as much impact as we need to go and get what we need to do done. Rodrigo, I think, would give us more of a guarantee. But again, the deal aspect of it, I just don't see happening. Why didn't Ethan get on the pitch? Don't know. Sorry, I don't know. Could be a fitness thing. Yeah, apologies about that. Martinelli, Odegaard and Havertz as a group might all have to go if Arteta doesn't find the one position amongst them that switches up. I think realistically, we're approaching a position, Nathan. One of those guys needs to come out of the team. And I don't know who it is. I really don't know who it is. I don't see a world where we fix all of our issues and Martinelli, Odegaard and Havertz all have as big a role as they do right now. That's basically where we're at. Will Arteta do that? Look, every manager has their favourites. I think he's been particularly patient with Martinelli. I think he's been right to be patient with Odegaard and Havertz, considering what we've seen. I think he's been particularly patient with Martinelli. And considering where we're targeting, I think he is looking to maybe move him on. So maybe that's the answer. I don't know. But yeah, Steak and Bake says, can't have both 8s facing inwards. It limits attacking avenues. You go both 8s having the same predominant foot, or if not, both 8s facing outward. There's certainly, we're trying to collapse the pitch in. We've got 2 left footers on the right and 2 right footers on the left, and they all want to suck in the same spaces. And if you don't have a runner like a Gyökeres, there he is, like a Gyökeres, or if you don't have someone who's willing to go on the outside, whether it's a attacking fullback, that's why the right hand side looks more functional, because we have Ben White there. I think this is bang on. Everyone's trying to suck into the middle of the pitch. And if you look at how teams defend against us, it's not just the distances they show, it's the compactness, because they know, well, it depends on the situation, especially when we go wide, their fullback's nearly in the penalty box, because they're like, you're not going to be able to access the centre, and I know you're not going to beat me, so I'm just going to be here. So yeah, we do have a very odd situation, and I would be really curious for someone like an Art de Roche in like a press conference to ask Mikel, like, what's been going, like, maybe bring up some numbers. The left hand side has produced a certain amount of XG versus the right. What's the thinking? What's the imbalance? Why does that work like that? And I'm really curious to hear what he says, because it feels like a bit of a blind spot. But for someone as smart as Mikel, like, the idea that Alex Moneypenny has noticed this and Mikel hasn't. Do you know what I mean? It's like, obviously he has. But yeah, I find it really hard. I find it really hard because we keep seeing it. So he must be. My thinking is, for a man of his intelligence and football standing, there must be a reason. I'm not necessarily saying we have to agree with it, but what's the reason? And I don't get the reason. So, does Eze really solve left winger? Attacking midfield, 100%. We need Eze and a left winger. I think he solves something on the left hand side. I think he can play a number of positions. Which need to find the right thing. I wonder whether the left hand side becomes more of the kind of the customizable aspect of our team, whether it's Martinelli starts left and Eze, or Martinelli and I don't know, Marino in the pocket going round, or it's Eze left wing and Rice inside. I don't know, whatever we find works, and depends on the situation. I remember this quote from Mikel where he talks about like the behavior of the defenders, and that's another thing. It's a big blind spot for me, I think, in our analysis of the team, is actually what are we trying to do to counter the opposition, or what we're trying to force the opposition to do? And because we don't have access to, the pages and pages of PDFs I imagine are out there about opposition analysis, we don't know the reason we're doing that is to do this. It's a big blind spot. And I think there's certain things we do that we don't understand, maybe going back to the previous point, that are to do with the opposition. But yeah, I don't know, man. Final one from Nick. Opinion on Kivior. I'm in two minds. Very technical, but lacks a bite. Still like him, but torn. Missing out on Hato. Yeah, I think sometimes there's too much to do in the summer, right? Like, I think if you'd ask me Hato or Kivior, I'd pick Hato. But Kivior is probably our third choice left centre back and showed levels against Real Madrid. And I think, I think he reads the game pretty well. When he's over the shoulder, I worry more about him because it feels like he can't quite judge distances in that way particularly well. His passing forward is really nice. He's decent in build up as well, like where the positions he picks up, and his next action's pretty clean. When he's forced to the byline, I'm trying to imagine him. This is when I close my eyes. When he's forced to the byline, I think his actions can get rushed and panicked. It doesn't feel like he can ever pick out a pass from there. But overall, good player. Like, he is a good player, you know what I mean? And he's not going to play that much, hopefully. Although classic Gabriel, where is he? So, listen, we will finish there. 50 minutes of instant reaction. Wow. Thank you all for being here. Still over 2,000 of you watching live, which is crazy to me. It's another super chat. May end the season already. It's already over for us, says Shumi. It's not over. It's not over, says the Arsenal therapist. We've got to make sure that we, basically what I've kept saying over the course of the pod, that we just have got to make sure we know what we can take from preseason, what we can't, what we're looking for, what we're trying to adapt, accept that we haven't seen Gyökeres, really. We barely saw Zubimendi today, and those are the two big changes that have come in. We haven't yet seen Madueke. We haven't obviously yet seen an Eze, whatever it is. We're playing with the same team. So we're going to see the same problems essentially. So yeah, we've got to wait for those to come in. And yeah, we'll end that there. That's basically my feeling on the game. Thank you all for being here on the Cannon Podcast. We'll be back for TTB Live this evening. Rohan can't be there this evening, so it'll be me and James. Thank you all for watching. And thanks for keeping it. I'll have to see Gabriel's story. I'll check it out after. Thank you, Louis. Thanks so much for watching. And thanks for keeping it Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. This was one kind of queue the ladies thoroughly enjoyed.
Electrifying. Electrifying. Inspiration.